Welcome to our channel. Lincoln pennies can be more than just pocket change. Some rare examples have become highly sought-after collector's items. These coins have sold for incredible sums, showing that rarity and condition can make even a penny priceless. Let's get started. Most people have handled a 1-cent coin without giving it much thought. It's small, common, and often overlooked. But the first coin in today's video proves that even the simplest coin can carry an unexpected story. This is the 1968 United States 1-cent penny, a coin that looks ordinary at first glance but has become one of the most talked about modern Lincoln cents among collectors. The 1968 penny was produced during a period when the U.S. Mint was returning to normal operations after several years of changes. Earlier in the 1960s, rising metal prices and coin shortages caused widespread concern. People began saving coins, and the Mint responded by increasing production and making adjustments to discourage hoarding. By 1968, Mint marks officially returned, making this year an important transition point in U.S. coinage. All 1968 pennies feature the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front. This design had been in use since 1909 and was created by Victor David Brenner. Lincoln faces to the right, with "In God We Trust" along the top edge, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1968 to the right. Depending on where the coin was made, a small letter appears just below the date. A D indicates the Denver Mint, an S indicates the San Francisco Mint, and coins without a mint mark were struck in Philadelphia. The back of the coin shows the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959. Above the memorial are the words, "United States of America," and below it is, 1 cent. Inside the memorial, if you look closely, a small seated statue of Lincoln can be seen. This design was standard for circulation pennies throughout the 1960s. In 1968, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 1 billion pennies. The Denver Mint added several hundred million more. San Francisco, however, was mainly responsible for producing proof coins. Proof pennies were not intended for circulation. They were specially struck for collectors using polished blanks and carefully prepared dies, resulting in sharper details and a reflective surface. The composition of the 1968 penny is primarily copper, with a small amount of tin and zinc. Each coin weighs about 3.11 grams and has a diameter of 19 millimeters. These specifications were standard for Lincoln cents at the time. What makes certain 1968 pennies stand out is not their basic design or metal content, but the way some of them were struck. Because the Mint was producing coins at a very high volume, dies were used extensively before being replaced. This led to worn dies, misalignments, and other minor problems during the striking process. Over time, collectors began to identify specific varieties and errors that were unique to certain 1968 pennies. One of the most important distinctions among 1968 pennies is between regular circulation strikes and proof strikes. Proof pennies from San Francisco are known for their sharp lettering, squared rims, and mirror-like fields. Some proof coins also show deep contrast between the raised design and the background, which increases collector interest when the coin is well preserved. In addition to proof coins, certain circulation strikes from 1968 display notable errors. These can include doubled lettering, where parts of the design appear slightly repeated, as well as off-center strikes or unusual die markers. While many minor errors add only modest value, a small number of varieties are extremely scarce and have become highly desirable. Condition plays a critical role in determining value. Most 1968 pennies were heavily circulated and show wear, scratches, or discoloration. Coins that survived in near-perfect condition are far less common. Professional grading services evaluate coins using a numerical scale, with higher numbers indicating better preservation. Collectors pay close attention to population reports, which track how many examples of a particular coin have been graded at each level. For certain 1968 pennies, especially rare proof or error varieties, the number of coins graded at the highest levels is extremely small. This scarcity, combined with collector demand, has driven prices upward over time. Another factor that adds interest to the 1968 penny is its place in modern collecting history. Coins from this era were long considered too common to be valuable. As a result, many high-quality examples were not carefully saved. The specific 1968 penny that stands out most is a San Francisco proof strike with exceptional characteristics. This coin was struck with unusually strong detail, deep mirrored surfaces, and a high level of contrast between the design and the background. It was preserved carefully from the moment it left the mint, avoiding the handling and exposure that typically degrade a coin over time. When this coin was submitted for professional grading, it received one of the highest grades ever awarded for its type. Only a very small number of 1968 proof pennies have achieved this level. With so few comparable examples available, collectors were willing to compete strongly when the coin appeared at auction. Auction results over the years show how prices can rise when rarity and condition align. What began as a 1-cent coin sold in a proof set became a centerpiece item in advanced Lincoln cent collections. It's important to note that not every 1968 penny is valuable. The vast majority are still worth only face value or slightly more. However, the existence of rare, high-grade examples has changed the way collectors view this date. Now, after decades of grading records and confirmed auction history, one particular example of the 1968 1-cent penny reached a level that few would expect for a coin of its denomination. This single penny achieved a final price of $116,000, making it one of the most valuable modern Lincoln cents ever sold. Up next is the 1983 1-cent coin, a penny that often goes unnoticed but has earned serious attention from collectors for a very specific reason. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint in 1983, during a year when the U.S. Mint was still adjusting to major changes in how cents were produced. By this time, the traditional copper-based cent had already been replaced with a zinc core coated in copper. This change reduced production costs, but it also introduced new technical challenges at the minting stage, and those challenges are what make certain 1983 pennies stand out today. At first glance, the 1983 penny looks like any other circulation cent from the early 1980s. It carries the Denver Mint mark below the date and was released in very large numbers. Millions entered everyday circulation, and most were spent, worn down, or damaged over time. Because of this, the date itself was long considered ordinary, and for years it received little attention from collectors. The real interest begins with the way some of these coins were struck. In 1983, the Mint was using new plating and bonding techniques for zinc-based cents. In a small number of cases, problems occurred during this process. These issues affected how the design details transferred onto the coin, particularly in areas where the lettering and date were supposed to appear sharp and fully formed. One of the most important characteristics collectors look for on certain 1983 pennies is weak or missing design elements. This is not the result of wear, but of an incomplete or improper strike. Letters may appear thinner than normal, parts of the design may look flat, and the overall appearance can differ noticeably from a standard example. These traits are subtle, which is why many examples went unnoticed for years. Another key factor is weight. Most 1983 pennies were struck on zinc planchets with a thin copper coating, giving them a specific expected weight. A small number of coins from this year, however, show unusual weight readings that don't match standard specifications. When combined with the correct visual characteristics, this becomes a strong indicator of a rare and desirable variety. Collectors often compare confirmed examples side by side with normal strikes to spot these differences more clearly. Even slight variations can signal that a coin followed an unusual path during production. This process requires careful handling and precise measurement. Because of this, many potential examples are dismissed until properly examined. Only coins that meet all known criteria are considered genuine varieties. Some collectors also rely on magnification to study surface texture and edge details. Differences in reflectivity can point to plating issues. These clues help confirm that the coin was affected during the minting process. Without close inspection, these details are easy to miss. Condition is especially important for this coin. Because zinc-based cents are more vulnerable to damage, many 1983 pennies show corrosion, bubbling, or surface breakdown. Finding an example that avoided these issues and remains in high-grade condition is extremely difficult. Coins that show clean surfaces, intact plating, and sharp detail are far scarcer than their mintage numbers would suggest. Professional grading plays a major role in separating truly rare examples from ordinary ones. Coins submitted for evaluation are carefully examined for strike quality, surface preservation, and authenticity. Only a very small number of 1983 pennies have met the criteria for top-level grades, and those are the coins that draw serious collector interest. Once certified, these coins are tracked through population reports. These reports help collectors understand how many similar examples exist. In the case of the 1983 penny, those numbers are surprisingly low. This scarcity directly affects demand. As awareness increased, competition followed. Market interest grew steadily as more information became available. Collectors who specialize in modern issues began paying closer attention to this date. Demand was driven by both rarity and condition. Prices reflected that growing awareness. As collectors became more aware of these characteristics, demand increased. Auction appearances of confirmed high-grade examples began to attract attention, especially when population reports showed just how few comparable coins existed. Each verified sale reinforced the idea that this date and mint combination deserved closer study. What makes the 1983 penny especially interesting is how long it remained overlooked. For years, it circulated freely, often ignored even by people who saved coins. Only after careful analysis and grading did its true scarcity at the highest levels become clear. Today, the 1983 penny is recognized as one of the most challenging modern cents to find in exceptional condition with the correct strike characteristics. It stands as an example of how production changes can create unintended rarities, even in years with very high output. After confirmed grading and competitive bidding at auction, the finest known example of the 1983 1-cent coin reached a final price of $71,000. Now let's move on to the 1990 1-cent coin, a penny that many people have seen hundreds of times but very few have ever examined with care. At first glance, it looks like a standard modern penny, unremarkable and familiar. Most people probably spent it, lost it, or stored it without a second thought. But for collectors, this coin holds subtle secrets that can make it stand out from the millions of others minted that year. The 1990 penny was produced at the Denver Mint, and it was part of a large circulation run. Millions were released into everyday commerce, so it's not rare in terms of sheer numbers. For years, collectors paid little attention to it, assuming that modern pennies from the 1990s had little collectible value. Yet, as time passed, careful observation began to reveal that some of these coins were not entirely ordinary. What sets certain 1990 pennies apart are minor but consistent irregularities that occurred during the minting process. Unlike dramatic errors that are easy to spot, these differences are subtle. They can include variations in the depth of the lettering, areas where design elements appear slightly flattened or uneven, or inconsistencies in the surface that indicate a strike that wasn't perfectly executed. These features are not caused by wear or handling, they were present from the moment the coin left the mint. Collectors often notice small differences in the way letters or numbers appear. On some 1990 pennies, the date or the word "Liberty" may show unusual thickness or faint doubling. These features are not always obvious without close comparison to a normal example, which makes them easy to overlook. The differences may be slight, but they are enough to make a coin identifiable as part of a very limited group. Another key aspect is alignment. Some 1990 pennies exhibit what is known as rotation or misalignment between the obverse and reverse designs. While the degree of shift is minor, it signals that the coin was struck under conditions that deviated from the standard process. These coins are particularly interesting to collectors because misalignment is uncommon and does not appear on the majority of circulation strikes. Surface quality is equally important. Because the 1990 penny is made primarily from copper-plated zinc, it is more prone to corrosion, discoloration, or surface degradation over time. Most circulated examples show scratches, wear, or dullness, which can hide subtle minting irregularities. A coin that has preserved its original luster, with clean fields and sharp detail, is far more likely to reveal unusual strike characteristics that might otherwise go unnoticed. Condition and rarity work together to determine which examples are desirable. A coin may have an unusual strike, but if it is heavily worn, its appeal is limited. Conversely, a well-preserved coin that shows the same subtle irregularities immediately draws collector interest. It's the combination of quality and unusual features that makes certain 1990 pennies noteworthy. Collectors also pay attention to population data, which tracks how many coins of a particular type exist in top condition. For the 1990 penny, high-grade examples with confirmed mint irregularities are far fewer than the general mintage numbers might suggest. This scarcity is what makes careful inspection so important. Coins that appear ordinary at first glance may hide unique characteristics that set them apart. Over the years, collectors have developed methods to identify these coins. Comparing a suspect penny with a verified normal example, using magnification to examine lettering and surface texture, and observing reflectivity and detail are all standard steps. Subtle differences in these areas are often the only clues that indicate a coin is unusual. Another point worth noting is that the 1990 penny remained largely overlooked for decades. Modern coins were rarely the focus of serious study, as collectors concentrated on older or historically significant dates. This allowed a small number of coins to quietly circulate or sit in collections without recognition. Only through careful analysis did their importance become apparent. Because of these factors, the 1990 penny rewards patience and a sharp eye. It is not a coin that jumps out as special immediately. Instead, its value lies in the details, the alignment, the strike, the quality of the surfaces, and the preservation of the coin. Coins that combine these elements are much more interesting to collectors than ordinary examples. For anyone sorting through coins from the late 20th century, the 1990 penny is a perfect reminder that even common-looking coins can hold surprises. Close inspection can reveal variations and minor errors that elevate a coin's significance. It's a coin that requires time, attention, and an understanding of what to look for. The 1990 penny also illustrates the broader story of modern minting. Even in years with mass production, small errors and variations occurred, showing that no minting process is entirely perfect. These coins remind collectors that careful observation and study can uncover hidden details in coins that might otherwise be dismissed as ordinary. In the end, the 1990 penny is a coin that combines rarity, condition, and subtle minting anomalies. While it is easy to overlook at first glance, careful study reveals its uniqueness. For collectors, it is a coin that rewards curiosity and attention to detail, demonstrating that even recent pennies can hold stories worth discovering. The next coin we're looking at is the 2006 1-cent coin, a penny that has drawn considerable attention from collectors in recent years. While millions were minted for everyday circulation, a small subset of these coins possesses unique characteristics that make them highly sought after today. What makes this coin particularly interesting is that its significance is not rooted in age or historical events, but in the combination of rarity, condition, and subtle errors that occurred during its production. This coin was produced at the Denver Mint, which handled a substantial portion of the nation's cent production in 2006. The mint operated under modern procedures, using high-speed presses and copper-plated zinc planchets to produce millions of pennies efficiently. Despite the advanced technology, no minting process is flawless. A very small number of coins from this period display irregularities that set them apart from the ordinary coins that circulated widely. Collectors focus on these irregularities because they reveal small deviations in the striking process. Some 2006 pennies show areas where the letters, numbers, or design elements appear unusually thin, thickened, or slightly doubled. These details are extremely subtle and require close examination, sometimes with magnification, to identify. What is notable is that these imperfections were present from the moment the coin left the mint, they were not caused by handling, wear, or corrosion. Surface quality is another critical factor. The 2006 D penny, like other modern cents, is made from a zinc core with a thin copper coating. This composition makes it susceptible to corrosion, discoloration, and surface damage over time. Many circulated examples exhibit scratches, toning, or uneven coloring, which can obscure or eliminate the subtle minting features that collectors seek. Coins that have preserved their original luster, with smooth fields and sharp details, are significantly rarer than their mintage figures might suggest. Alignment and strike consistency are also areas of interest. A small number of 2006 D pennies were struck slightly off-center or with minor rotation between the obverse and reverse designs. While these variations are not dramatic, they provide evidence of unusual minting conditions. When combined with high-grade preservation, such coins are particularly noteworthy, because they are far less common than standard circulation strikes. Collectors also examine the coin for irregularities along the edges and in the fine details of the design. Tiny variations in the rims, lettering spacing, or the relief of Lincoln's portrait can indicate that the coin experienced unusual conditions during striking. Observing these characteristics requires careful comparison to verified normal examples. It's this attention to detail that allows collectors to separate ordinary coins from the small fraction that truly stands out. Condition is often what ultimately defines the value of these modern coins. Even minor marks, discoloration, or plating issues can reduce collector interest. Coins that have survived untouched, with clean surfaces, crisp lettering, and intact details, are extraordinarily rare. The combination of a unique minting feature and pristine condition is what makes certain 2006 D pennies so highly prized. Over time, numismatists have documented these special examples, verifying their authenticity and confirming that the traits are consistent among certain coins. This research has helped collectors understand which coins are genuine rarities and which are simply ordinary examples with minor wear. Recognition of these characteristics has gradually increased awareness and demand for these coins among enthusiasts who focus on modern issues. The 2006 D penny also highlights how modern minting can produce unexpected rarities. Even in an era of advanced technology and mass production, small errors and variations can create coins that are rare and desirable. These coins serve as a reminder that careful observation and study can uncover unique characteristics, even in coins that are only a few decades old. Collectors often spend hours examining rolls of modern pennies, looking for those subtle differences in strike and surface quality that signal a coin's rarity. Detailed reference guides, comparison charts, and grading reports are all tools used to verify which 2006 D pennies are genuine examples of these special varieties. These coins also illustrate how a simple penny can become a treasure when rarity, quality, and production anomaly converge. For collectors, the 2006 D penny is particularly appealing because it combines several factors: rarity, high-grade preservation, and subtle minting irregularities. It rewards patience, attention to detail, and careful handling, demonstrating that modern coins can still hold remarkable interest. Every coin in this group tells a story about the minting process, showing how even advanced techniques can produce unexpected variations. For enthusiasts, finding one of these coins is not just about value, it's about uncovering a small piece of modern minting history. The journey of identifying and verifying these pennies is a rewarding part of the collecting experience. Today, the 2006 D penny has a coin value of $33,000, placing it among the most significant and sought-after modern pennies in collectors' hands. In the last spot of today's lineup, we have the 2014 Lincoln 1-cent coin, a penny that may seem familiar to anyone handling coins in daily life, yet it holds interest for collectors because of its condition, rarity in high grades, and subtle production characteristics. This coin was struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, as part of the standard circulation production for that year. Millions were produced and released, so the majority of 2014 pennies entered everyday use, exchanged for purchases, or stored in rolls without special attention. Yet within this massive population, a very small number of coins can stand out due to quality, preservation, and minor minting anomalies. One of the first aspects collectors examine is the coin's surface. The 2014 Lincoln penny, like other modern cents, is composed of a zinc core with a thin copper plating. This composition, while cost-effective, makes the coin more susceptible to discoloration, corrosion, and surface wear over time. Many circulated coins show signs of handling, including scratches, toning, or uneven coloring. Coins that retain smooth, clean fields and original luster are much rarer than the mintage figures suggest, and these high-quality examples attract the most attention from collectors. Strike quality is another important factor. A well-struck 2014 penny will display crisp, fully defined details in Lincoln's portrait, the date, and the lettering of Liberty and In God We Trust. Some coins from this year show slightly softer strikes in certain areas, which is not unusual for high-speed mass production. Collectors look for coins where these design elements are fully sharp, as they represent the coin at its best from the moment it left the mint. Minor production variations also play a role. While modern pennies rarely have dramatic errors, small differences can occur. Some 2014 pennies may exhibit faint doubling on letters or numbers, slight shifts in alignment between the obverse and reverse, or variations in surface texture. These differences are subtle, often requiring magnification or careful side-by-side comparison with standard examples. When identified, such traits increase the coin's appeal to collectors. The edges and rims of the coin are also scrutinized. Certain examples show small irregularities along the rim, uneven spacing, or minor inconsistencies in the raised border. These are not defects in a traditional sense but reflect tiny variations in the minting process that help distinguish one coin from another in a large population. Condition remains the most critical factor in evaluating 2014 pennies. Even light scratches, nicks, or minor plating imperfections can significantly reduce collector interest. Coins that have been stored carefully and avoided circulation tend to retain their original shine, consistent coloring, and sharp details, making them far more desirable than the millions that were handled or worn in everyday life. Collectors often approach modern pennies with methodical observation techniques. They may examine coins under bright lighting, rotate them to check surfaces for hairlines or contact marks, and compare them to verified examples. They track subtle differences in strike quality, edge details, and surface finish, documenting findings for reference. This attention to detail allows them to identify coins that are more significant within a given year's production. The 2014 Lincoln penny also illustrates the importance of population and rarity. Even though the overall mintage is very high, only a fraction of coins survive in top-grade condition, and fewer still show the subtle traits collectors find notable. This makes high-quality, well-preserved examples a point of interest for modern coin enthusiasts. Despite being a relatively recent issue, the 2014 Lincoln penny serves as a reminder that modern coins can still have collectible significance. While older coins are often prized for historical context, modern pennies demonstrate that rarity, preservation, and minor minting characteristics can create interest and value. Each coin tells a story about the minting process, the care taken by collectors, and the ways that subtle differences can distinguish one coin from millions of otherwise ordinary examples. This coin highlights a broader lesson in numismatics: even everyday coins, when preserved and studied carefully, can become meaningful and noteworthy. The 2014 Lincoln penny rewards careful inspection, patient study, and attention to detail, showing that collecting modern coins is not just about history, it's also about observation, knowledge, and appreciation for craftsmanship in mass production. For collectors, the 2014 Lincoln penny is particularly appealing because it combines high-quality preservation, subtle production characteristics, and the potential for rarity in top grades. It is an example of how modern coins can still hold fascination and provide a rewarding collecting experience, even in a world dominated by older, more historically prominent issues. And that wraps up today's top 5 penny finds. Each of these coins shows just how fascinating and valuable even small, everyday pieces of currency can be when you know what to look for. If you enjoyed exploring these coins with us, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you won't miss any future videos about rare coins, collecting tips, and hidden treasures. Thank you so much for watching and spending your time with us today. Your support means a lot, and we can't wait to share more amazing coin stories with you in the next video.